Abuse is real, but many, when talking about the topic, focus on physical abuse. But a lot of the time, the abuse isn't so easy to recognize. Emotional abuse happens every day and can affect anyone, male or female, young or old.
Hi, my name is Emma Byard. I'm 19 years old. About a year ago, I got out of a 9-month-long abusive relationship. I met the guy when I went with my friend to go meet a different guy, and he started flirting and I went for it, and we just started talking and things went from there.
I've seen a lot of verbal abuse with parents to children. I had not identified as much with the boyfriend-girlfriend aspect of it. So I think it actually took me a little longer to recognize it.
I'm Emma's cousin, and I've been her best friend as well for about maybe 10 years now. Her and I have been inseparable since we became best friends many years ago. We have been hanging out with each other before we even went to the same school, and when I moved to the same school district as her, our friendship grew, and we have been joined at the hip since. Even though there is a slight age difference, her and I have always gotten along really well, and we see each other as sisters.
My name is Corinne Brock. I'm a sophomore at Meridian High School. I was in a relationship my freshman year with a guy who was very manipulative and a controlling kind of person. He didn't really like it whenever I would want to do something that was against what he wanted.
Many unaffected people do not have much of an opinion on emotional abuse. Going through it or watching someone else go through it can really open up your eyes to the truth of emotional abuse.
Before I got into this relationship, my views on emotional abusive relationships was not very much there. I didn't really pay attention to it. I didn't really care. I hadn't really experienced anybody in an emotionally abusive relationship before, but after being in this relationship, I see it in a lot of other relationships. When people are telling me about what they're going through, I'm just like, you need to get out of there. And I'm more aware of what's going on in other people's relationships, and I worry more about them than I used to. I don't want anybody else to go through it because it's horrible.
My assumptions about emotional abuse before were that it would be name-calling and not really manipulation or anything like that. I just always assumed it would be somebody, calling you things or, just kind of degrading you, never just manipulating you. My thoughts on it now are that it needs to be taken more seriously and people need to know more about it than they do. People need to realize that it is a serious thing and not to get involved with people that have been known to do it because they don't really change.
Emotional abuse is a sign of what will most likely turn into physical abuse later on. Learning to recognize the signs of an abusive relationship is the first step in getting out and becoming happy again.
When I realized that I really needed to say something to Emma and be specific, and I knew she was open to receiving something in regards of this is an abusive relationship. I knew I needed to get it to her without his knowledge, and I saw some questionnaires online where it was asking, is my daughter in an abusive relationship? And I sent it to her through a private message on Facebook, and it got her asking herself the questions.
I'd say I probably realized that he was not a healthy choice for me around like 4 or 5 months. I definitely realized in December that this was a bad choice for me, a very bad road to go down. he was always yelling at me, and everything that happened was my fault. I didn't do anything right, and I felt absolutely horrible, and I was depressed, and I secluded myself from everybody, and I was always angry, and basically felt like shit.
The whole thing was so fast. And I just don't... You just don't imagine it's going to happen in a couple of months, literally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was barely 2 months when I look back now and think, okay, when did we start seeing signs? And was barely 2 months into the relationship that we started seeing him isolating you.
When I started noticing it in mine, I shut everybody out. I didn't want anybody to tell me that it was emotionally abusive. I wanted to do my own thing and figure it out for myself. Towards the end of the relationship, I knew it was really bad for me, and it was tearing me up, and I just had to get out.
The first sign of an emotionally abusive relationship is isolation. This is when the abuser will try to put distance between the victim and their loved ones, such as family and friends.
He convinced you that we were against you. And
That's exactly what he told me to.
that we were against you.
Yeah, he said everybody was against me, and they didn't want what was best for me and all this other junk. And that they were just trying to separate me from what makes me happy. But
Yeah.
My relationship with Emma was rocky for a little while because of this guy. He would put bad air between me and Emma. He called me names, sent me hateful texts. He told Emma I was a bad person and I didn't care about her. And then after a while, around prom time of last year, she decided to completely cut me off. And so Emma and I stopped being best friends for 2 to 3 months about. And it was some of the hardest months of my life, not having a best friend to turn to.
I had a lot of people trying to tell me to get out of the relationship. My mom and two of my closest friends at the time. One of my friends I completely shut out, and for a couple months we weren't even friends. Those were some of the hardest months of my life. And I don't know what to do with that.
Another sign is if the potential abuser is verbal. This can include name-calling, threatening, degrading, and blaming.
Some of the worst aspects of this relationship were seeing and hearing the words coming from that boy's mouth that were degrading and diminishing my daughter's worth.
He was very much verbally abusive to me, her best friend, and I feel like that was a very early sign that he was going to become very verbally abusive with her. And it really hurt that he was doing that to me, even though I was trying not to get involved with their relationship too much.
One time we were running late. I think I was supposed to be taking him to work or something, and I was running late, or he was running late. Somebody was forgetting something. I think I picked him up from the place that he was staying, and he couldn't find something, and we were looking everywhere and we couldn't find it, and then he just was yelling at me for it. And I'm like, I didn't lose it. I don't live here. It's not my stuff. Why are you yelling at me? He would just yell and call names, and everything was my fault. It didn't matter what happened. He just didn't take the blame for anything, even if it was his fault. And I wasn't allowed to get mad about anything, but he was always mad. And that tears you down. It makes you feel worthless, and it hurts really bad. It's just, I don't know how to explain it.
Becoming fearful of your partner is very common in emotionally abusive relationships. This ranges from being scared of getting into a disagreement to getting physically hurt.
You know it's bad when the guy is so controlling that he's like, no, you can't even go into that hot tub that's on the porch of your dad's house with just your cousin. It's not like she was getting in the hot tub with a bunch of random guys or getting in a hot tub at some hotel or anything. But at her own father's house with just me, we were going to get in the hot tub, and he threw a fit. She decided to get in the hot tub anyways and lie to him about it, and I don't know if he ever found out, but she was scared that he would find out.
One time when I was trying to discipline her because of her disrespect for something, a rule here, and my discipline was to take her phone away, and the fear in her voice of if I don't answer him, if I don't answer his text.
I was terrified to give her my phone. I constantly had to be in contact with him, otherwise it'd just be a fight.
But he didn't have to be.
Oh no.
He didn't have to respond to you. He could go hours or a day without responding to you. But if you went 5 minutes without responding to him, whoo, all you know what was to be paid.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was.
Someone who emotionally abuses commonly wants their partners all to themselves. This leads them to oftentimes becoming upset or hostile if their partner spends time away from them.
If I was with somebody and I wasn't talking to him, he would just be like, oh, so you're not going to talk to me just because you're hanging out with them? That's cool. Okay, whatever. Talk to you later. Bye. And I'd message him and be like, that's not what's going on. I still want to talk to you, and I don't understand why this is a fight right now. And then it'd be a 3-hour-long fight that would just go in circles and bring up the past and wouldn't make any sense for what we were actually fighting about. Like, I would forget what the whole argument was about and just be in fear of being pushed away. Like, being rejected in that way where he breaks up with me was not what I wanted.
I think him punishing her for not being with her all the time goes hand in hand with isolation, because with punishing her for not being with him, he was saying, I don't want you with anybody else. I don't want you talking to anybody else. I know that he got upset with her sometimes when she would hang out with me, or when we were just texting and talking, he would get upset. Why are you talking to her? He did not like when she spent any time away from him. He was all like, you're mine.
There was so many times just during school. I was in school during this, and like for journalism class, I would have to go do interviews like during study hall or something, and I'd be like, okay, I can't text you right now. I have to go do this. And he'd be like, whatever, or K. I hate K. I hate K so much. And he knew I hated it, so he would do that just to get under my skin and be like, I'm mad at you, now we're gonna fight. And it was just stupid thinking about it. It's just, why did I put myself through all that?
Because you were in love.
The biggest and most noticeable sign is physical abuse. If your partner ever hurts you or sexually assaults you, it is not a healthy relationship.
The worst things that happened were the things that happened behind closed doors. Nobody else really knew about them. Towards the end of the relationship, I knew that it was unhealthy, and I knew that I didn't want to be there. but I felt like I had to. I felt like I didn't deserve anybody else. I didn't deserve anything better. I didn't feel like I was good enough. And we had been sexually intimate. And towards the end, I didn't really want to anymore. And there'd be times that he basically forced me to. And that made me feel even more worthless and horrible. And it hurt so bad. But I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know where to go. So I just dealt with it. I went on. I thought that, okay, he loves me, so that's what I'm supposed to do, right? So I went with it. Sometimes when he got angry, he would yell. Most of the time he would just yell. He'd blame everything on me. But one time, I don't even remember what I did. He slapped me. And I looked at him. And I didn't even know who he was. Because when we started, he was so nice and sweet, and he made everything sound so good. And then he was so full of hate and anger, and I didn't even recognize him, and I didn't know what to do. I wanted to change him back to the person that I liked. And after a while, I realized that I couldn't do that.